All right, guys, I want to talk to you today about something that if you apply it to your life, you will lead a life full of blessings. In early 2000s, I started a business. It took off, become very successful. And so in about 2000, 2003, decided I was going to turn this business over to said friend. And he didn't have any credit, but I was going to keep it in my name. And the banker said, if you'll let him do that and he pays the payments for a year, I'll give him the loan and you get the payoff of the business. So I did that, and I turned it over to him against the advice of a lot of people. And they said, hey, listen, it's not a good idea, don't do it. And I didn't listen, and I did it anyway. And let me stop here and say this, interject this. There are times that we make decisions. You got to understand that they don't just affect us, but they affect those around us. And a lot of times those around us had nothing to do with it, but yet they suffer the consequences of decisions that we make. So I pack up and go to Juneau on top of the world. I'm there about 3 months, and then I get a phone call from the banker, and he says one day, Mr. Ferris, I wanted to call you and let you know that the gentleman ain't made the payment in 3 months, and I know that it's in your name, and I thought you would like to know. And he said, and furthermore, I went out to your warehouse, and it's empty. He has literally wiped you out. He's taken everything you had, sold every bit, all your equipment, forklift, everything is gone. And so I packed up everything, and I moved back from Juneau, and I came back, and I spent the next several years trying to get back on top and to stay afloat from a decision that I made that cost us all to suffer. Now, I had to sell just about everything that I had worked so hard for. And at that time, I had just one thing basically left that I really cared about that was physical. And it was a 2001 Dodge Dually. It was a 1-ton with a Cummins diesel engine. Oh my goodness, I really did care for that vehicle. And so I had to sell it. It was nearly paid for, and I had to sell it because of a bad decision that I had made. And so in 2008, I sold it to the local real estate agent in the town next over from where I pastored. Now let's fast forward. 2009, I'm pastoring in Lamar, Arkansas. And one day I'm driving back from the town next to where I was pastoring. And I was driving my son Brandon's little green rodeo SUV, and it was a good vehicle. But a woman that owned it had drove it and lost control, went down a hill, went through a barbed wire fence. So the driver's side was perfect, but the passenger side, well, let's say it was pretty rough. And it had barbed wire cuts all down the side, and it had dings and dents. So you can imagine what it looked like. Well, I was hauling stuff back from the hardware store that day, and I desperately wanted and needed a truck. And I remember I was so glad if I saw somebody coming that I knew in the opposite direction, I knew that, hey, at least they're going to see the good side of this truck, of this vehicle. And I would park, shame to say at times, where if anybody saw me get in it, they would see me getting in the good side. And that's what we do today. We're all the same. We sometimes we just show our good sides, and we show people only what we want them to see. And so one of my next videos I'm going to do is going to be talking about that subject. So one day I'm driving from Clarksville, and I'm headed back towards the town, and I'm driving past the airport, and I look over, and there sits that detailed, beautiful red Dodge Dually that I used to own. And I remember the overwhelming feelings of sadness and bitterness that came over me. And I simply said out loud, why? Why do I have to drive this vehicle? I used to have that. And I began to complain and whine and groan. And I'm telling you, it was a pity party. With tears streaming down my face, I was whining and complaining. But in the midst of all that, in my mind, it was a voice. It was so forceful. It says, if you will be thankful for what you have and grateful for what you have, I'll give you what you need. So I begin to say, I am thankful for this little vehicle. I'm thankful that, it literally shocked me that I could be so ungrateful. So I begin to say thank you for this. And at least I've got the ability to drive this. And there are those that would love to have it that can't. And I thank you that I even got to drive a vehicle like that. And so I became very thankful. And every time I got into that little vehicle, I would just be, hey, thank you for this vehicle. And I would be grateful for it. And so about a month went by, and I was pastoring a church, and one Sunday after church, a family walked up to me, and they was just some of the godliest people I've met in my life. They lived about 18 miles up the road, owned a business there. And they come up to me after and said, hey, listen, we'd like to come over to your house after. Got something I want to talk to you about. So I said, okay. And so I get home, and they show up later, and they knock on the door and walk in, and I remember him walking up to me, and he handed me an envelope, and he said, I want you to look in it. And I remember I did this. I opened it up, and I looked at it, and I knew what I was looking at, but it wasn't registering in it. And it looked something like this. It was a title. And I remember staring at it. My mind just wasn't quite computing, but I knew something was there. And he said, let me share with you what's going on here. He said, outside here sending a 2000, I think it was a 2006 Chevy Sierra, beautiful truck. He said, we were going to go trade it in about a month ago. He said, and so I called to get the payoff. And he said, while I'm getting the payoff, he said, something spoke to me and said, why don't you just pay that off and give that to that young pastor in Lamar? Yeah. And he said, so that's what I'm doing. I'm obeying the voice that I heard that said to give this to you. Now, you got to understand something. It had been about a month. So I was so excited, that beautiful truck. And I don't know how long it was later, but I remember one day I'm driving past, coming back from the town that over next to where I'd pastored, just like it was the time before, driving the little rodeo. But this time I'm driving this truck. And I look over and there sits that old Dodge Dually that I loved so much. And it hit me. The truck that I was driving was 5 years newer than the one I lost. The one that I was driving had 4 doors instead of 2. The one I was driving had beautiful plush leather black seats, heated seats. The other had cloth. The one that I was driving had just a little over 50,000 miles on it, but the one that I had to get rid of had 130. The one I was driving was debt-free and paid for, and it was worth more than the one that I had to get rid of that I still owed money on. Listen, I don't profess to know a lot, but I do know from experience that if you will walk in gratitude and you will continue in a mindset of thankfulness for what you have, your life will be filled with blessings beyond what you could ever imagine. I don't know how long it'll be. It may be a day. It might be a week. It could be a month. It could be 6 months. It could be a year. You know, I don't know when, but I just know it will. We need to stop stumbling down the paths of wondering how it's going to work. And we need to start walking up the road of I know it's going to work. So let's walk in gratitude today, not because of what it will do for us, but because of what it will make of us. When you and I gain, what we gain in the future by living a thankful life of gratitude will be more valuable than what we lost in the past by living in a life of unthankfulness. I remember when I was just a little Sunday school boy, my grandmother, who's about to be 92 years old, was my Sunday school teacher. And I remember there's a little song that she taught us, and I'm not going to sing it because I really would like for you to come back and watch the videos. But I'll give you the words, and this is the simple little song, and it says, oh, be thankful for the good things that you've got. Oh, be thankful for the good things that you've got. For the good things that you've got are for many just a dream. So be thankful for the good things that you've got. I haven't always had it together. I don't always have it together, but I'm simply striving to get it together. Come on, guys, will you join me on this journey to becoming the best version of what you and I were created to be? If so, let's do it by applying proven principles and truths that never change, no matter what comes our way. Guys, live in gratitude today. Be thankful for what you have. And in doing so, I assure you, you're on a collision course with what you want and what you need. Go out today, put a smile on someone's face. Be quick to forgive and always extend mercy. And above all else, be kind to one another. And that is a view from the Ferris side of things.